Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Impossible Puzzles Show. It's episode 166. Good Lord. And we're joined here by, we're saying hi to
Sabrina Fan.
Sabrina Fan. Amazing. Tell us all about yourself. What's up?
There's way too much to condense about me in a podcast, but I'm definitely a very multifaceted, eccentric person. How about you? Got you start because I mean, if I were to ramble on, it would just take up the whole time.
Totally cool. That's a great answer. I don't think anyone of so many episodes, people, interviews, talking to people. Usually everyone's self-absorbed to a certain enough extent to want to ramble or push a product or say something great about themselves or confess a sin or whatever. You have resorted to the Fifth Amendment, if you will.
Well, when value shows, you don't need to prove it; it'll come out naturally.
For those who haven't met you before, I mean, I cheated. We did chat the other day, and so many interesting things to share. Well, what's one thing you would like to share about yourself or your work experience or an area of great interest to you?
Well, the first thing that I would want people to know, usually this is what I tell after people already start knowing about me, but it helps people understand why I have such an old soul and how I have so much knowledge in me. I already have told you this, but I am one of the only 60 people in the whole history of humankind to have a condition called hyperthymesia, which means I literally do not have the ability to forget. So it's called a disease for a reason because 40 out of the 60 people who have ever had it have killed themselves for age 10. It's not a human ability to not be able to forget. So it's a very sad and suffering life, given that my whole life, later on, you'll find out, has been traumatic and full of every type of adversity you can think of. But, I use my curse to what I call give it as a gift for others. And that's where my nickname from Human GPT comes from, because I have the mind and speed of an impossible memory of a quantum computer, but a heart and soul and empathy of a human that no AI can ever replace.
That is an incredible introduction. We had to circle back to get it a second time
Yeah,
around.
it's not anything related to what I even do. It's just the way that people can comprehend why I'm able to be in so many different niches. Yeah.
Mazel tov, as they say in the Jewish religious community. Fascinating. You are not one who wishes to plug something so aggressively or promote something. You are just saying, hello, here I am. Here's a personal challenge, and I can I love it. I love it. That's we be vulnerable? Should
Yeah, of
we?
course. My core values is authenticity and vulnerability. So I never put on makeup. I don't put on a pretty face. Like, I'd rather you see me at my worst than my best, because it's if you can accept that, then everything else is only better to expect. So
Fascinating. And I forgot the exact numbers, but the other day you were saying such great things about, or modestly saying the great experiences you've had, or some experiences of in should we call it go to market strategy and brand engagement. Could you share some wisdom and more stories of that
of course.
episode? We won't
So
throw anyone under a bus directly.
yeah. So first and foremost, I'm a longevity coach and expert. I was actually one of the first researchers and speakers to bring peptides into the U.S. 8 to 10 years ago. Almost got killed 3 times for that, but it's beyond the point. But I've researched, studied, tested, worked with thousands and thousands of anything in the health and wellness CPG space, whether it's supplements, health tech, med tech, the scientists behind PMF, brought in photomodulation and IV therapy before, it was even med spas were even a thing. And all while I was on my own deathbed because I survived brain cancer and 15 autoimmune disorders and have my life being medically abused and neglected and out of treatment centers, literally married to my IV pole. So I've been through all the darkness so that I can guide others to light. Essentially, is my life purpose and mission is to give back to the world every way and I've received. And I define health in five aspects. It's mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and emotional. And if you don't really tackle it all holistically together, then you'll just relapse from one area of your life to another. Your relationship might be better, but maybe you'll just spend too much. If your financial is better, maybe you'll lose your purpose. And so it's all really about the holistic, bring all the frequency of a person up together. And on the other hand, it is my passion as a super connector. So I am a consultant to founders and startups, but also a curator for investors. And I connect the dots as well as a go to market strategist for a lot of startups and founders because I have all the connections that you would need in terms of anyone from manufacturing, the B2B to B2C, to like retail, wholesale, social media strategy, like everything up to marketing, making you really the blue fish in the Red Sea. As long as you are someone who has a passion, a purpose, and not just what I call a scammer riding the wave of momentums. So as long as your product it speaks for itself, it's definitely effective, it's definitely something that it can sell itself, then I am more than happy to bring your innovation to the world for it to see.
Fascinating, so interesting. And are you the kind, Sabrina, are you one who likes to be a co-founder, or are you one who likes to be like more like a coach, or do you prefer to be a founder on your own, or are you more of a monthly bill you by the month and I help you out? What kind of styles do you find is the best for engaging with the would-be prospect customer, etc.?
Yeah, the hard thing with me is that it's actually all of the above. And some people are like, how can you be like 15 people in one? But it's just my passion. I'm a very hands-on person and I just put in so much heart and intention in everything I do. I personally am looking for line partners to build my own, businesses to get more exposure in terms of like what I am trying to build for my own personal brand, but as well as a co-founder and also to help others in terms of like I said, my longevity coaching is more high ticket for high net worth or high performing individuals. But on the other hand, I am also looking for line partners, doctors, practitioners, clinics to implement peptides regenerative health strategies in. But also in terms of CPG or just product based, doesn't have to be CPG. Actually, I do all types from tech to CPG to health tech, med tech, any type of product I can sell really. I'm really passionate about building it up. And just really, I have a really unique angle and strategy. I also love the event space, building and connecting communities, very active in all of that. And it's always about immersive memories. And if you can really communicate that and tie that empathy in between what you're building and the end user, then that's what really sticks. So yeah, in terms of my style, definitely the coaching side. There's the also the retainer side as well as like monthly retainers. But really, it's all about energetic alignment. It's I don't have anything strict or as like a, here's my contract kind of thing. It's really about who you are, what your passions are, what you're looking for in building, and how I can add value to your life.
Fascinating, so interesting. And where you're at in, would you say where you live in California, it's a happening place and it's where you want to be, and you're happy at your locale and being in the mix? Is that the term that's used?
Well, I would definitely not say in those layman terms. I grew up in Florida. I went to Berkeley. I came down to SoCal because I'm also a creator and an artist at heart. So I'm very, because I have such a right brain, left brain polymath type of mindset, I'm able to connect with anyone of any profession, any type. I say I'm borderless and labelless. I also, do everything from the creator space and modeling to, the everything from biotech to investment space. So I'm pretty much like a chameleon. Some people say I'm like everywhere, everything at once. But I'm in OC right now. I'm actually moving to Marina Del Rey back to LA next week, actually. How I say putting myself back in the battlefield because it's where all the energy is. It's like where anything you manifest, you can go for because all the resources are there within around you. As long as you have your eyes open, you're curious enough, and you're ambitious enough. So, who knows where I'll be in the next 5 years? I'll probably be in another two places, but I don't confine myself in any container, shape or form, location, or identity.
So interesting. And what, oh my, so much there. I remember, and you showed me the other time when we were chatting a few days ago, you have what you call the Supplements Museum. And did you posted that on LinkedIn? Let me
Yes,
check.
I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
did.
What?
It's my
Explain,
whatever.
explain.
Mhm. So what I call my biggest insecurity is my home because of all the collection and research and just passion of mine throughout the years. And now, in some ways I'm ready to move on to, clean up the energy kind of thing. But I always have that and I still will have that, at least that part. That's only 1/5 of it. But it just
Oh
shows
my
speaks to
God.
my credibility of like, everything that's like Mark Hyman combined with like a Brian Johnson without the money. Because like I've not only tried, experimented, and just from my own life story of like the Phoenix story itself, but also in terms of like the amount that I've studied to the point where the minute I see a product, a supplement, a label, I know exactly the source, how quality, the formulation, the intrinsic value, the cost. It's just as they say, the experience is worth more gold than any knowledge can provide. So that's I just vulnerable enough to actually post about that, and hopefully later on maybe I'll use it as an asset to whatever I'm building.
Fascinating. And you know so much about supplements, and it is like you're a wholesaler, if you will. You have a
Mm.
warehouse.
No,
And
no,
a joke, a
it
joke.
because every one of them is completely unique. There's not two of the same.
And would you say, how did you grow such a deep knowledge of supplements and elements of nutrients or health in that way, whereas another person may
Mhm,
be focusing on so many aspects of health and wellness?
mhm.
How did you accumulate such wisdom and so many items?
Well, like I said, this is only like one tiny portion of what I do. Like I said, I'm right now my main spaces are in the, startup and founder, the building, the, coaching and everything. But in terms of this, like I was saying, like I dealt with, I survived myself with brain cancer and 15 autoimmune disorders, and over 35 specialists gave up on me. And I had no one. I had no family or no friends growing up. No one could help support or also with a life of abuse. So I took it to my own hands, really just with my memory, never being able to forget. So every doctor, every specialist that, even though they couldn't help me, I remembered everything, and then am able to give back to anyone else that deals with it. So that's why I sit at a very unique intersection between everything I've been through and learned, from traditional Chinese medicine to Ayurvedic to herbal to functional medicine, integrated nutrition, sports and fitness, the regular that's innovation based, the biotech and AI, the peptides, regenerative medicine, longevity, and I have it all in my head. So that's why I'm like, it's better to ask me than any AI. Really, it's just unreplicable. But even in my own rebuilding story, I literally built my body back up, from skin and bones. And I was like, that's why my first niche was actually in the fitness niche. I became the first Chinese American bodybuilder to win first in natural Miss Physique to use the platform to share my story, and also to show that if I can do this with only my mind, with the fact that my tumor was in my pituitary gland, so I couldn't produce any hormones. So not only do you not need steroids and hormones and all those things, but just from pure mental grit and just mindset and just tenacity and dedication, anything can be achievable.
Fascinating. Yes. Going a bit deeper into, could we call it female bodybuilding? Is there a reason why, as I would say, there are no Jews in the rodeo?
Yeah.
Is there a reason? Well, that's its own story. But is there a reason why could we say Chinese American
Yeah, because it's just
culture
not
or
part of the culture. Like you will never find another Chinese American who really does this. And if they are, they're probably like a few generations down, or they're not, they're more ABC, or, they are not natural. And that's why I am the first Chinese American natural women's, and also physique and not bikini kind of thing. Because it just shows much more hard. Physique is the hardest category because it's the most definition, the most poses, the most work that goes into it. And because I was natural, obviously I'm not competing like against like, the NPC Olympians, even though I've trained a lot of Olympians and IFBB pros before. But it's because like at that time, at my lowest, like I was physically and mentally dead. I was an empty shell, and I was like literally 60 pounds. I could barely walk. I was emaciated. Like my images would have not been even PG friendly kind of thing. It was just very, very sad to even look at me. Um, when I started, going into gym, it was because it was my safe space. Like my home wasn't safe. I was being still actively abused. And but I literally took it as an iron religion, as they say. Spending hours there, just surrounding myself with at least people that inspired me at that time, and that I wish that someday I could possibly get to. And just really also because mentally I was suicidal, and I needed to surround myself with people strong inside and out. And so really whatever fear I had, I didn't even have the luxury to be afraid. I literally couldn't even trust my own emotions and feelings. I just had to do whatever it took to rebuild myself mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. So, and that's the reason why, the fitness was the first part of my life, in the rebuilding phase at least. And, I grew up as a swimmer, and, did everything from like tap dancing to ballet to figure skating. It was always part of me. But, for then half my life, I was just gone. I was just like bedridden, unable to move, but it was always something that was like intrinsically part of me. And so this was a way where your dedication can really show as a result of your hard work and ethic. And like I said, I never really did it for bodybuilding reasons, but there was a judge who really saw me and my tenacity, and saw it as a beautiful story to share as a transformation category. And that's kind of how I did it. But even my first show, I wasn't almost even allowed to go because they were like, "You're a disgrace. You're too thin. You're too small to do this." I was hated on every single day I went to the gym. Every single day, people looked at me, thought I had an eating disorder, thought I was just didn't even belong in the gym. Some people just even harassed me, even said like, "Go eat a sandwich instead." Like, I've been through a life of hate, and so it was to a point where I just had to be like, haters have to hate, and I just have to keep on doing whatever I have to do. And I had to the epiphany moment for me when I stopped playing the victim, the just the why, all these things happened to me, was really when I just started to accept that, hey, my life might just have the worst luck. I might just be given this purpose for a reason. I might just have that old soul like front loaded kind of thing. And I just I have to start like literally just realizing and accepting that like these things are just going to be like this, and that no one in the world, no one except for myself, like has the right and responsibility to help myself, even though everyone has someone in their life to care for them or help or heal. Like it's always about one person sometimes, but sometimes when you don't have anyone, you just have to accept that no one else has the responsibility to help you. And by really, really accepting that, it just gave me back all my power, or enough at least to start my whole like rebirth. and that's why in the fitness world my nickname is the Iron Butterfly. But so yeah, that's a little bit about my background into like, how I began. And then, a lot of things happened, but then I switched more of my niche into the longevity and regenerative space because it was more aligned to who I am and what my passion, like my story is more aligned with. But I will never lose that part of my community and the people that I've met and had become friends with and connected. So every year I go back to the Olympia, the biggest bodybuilding show in the world. And it always aligns around my birthday. I'm September 22nd, cusp of Virgo and Libra. So it's, yeah, so it's always a good way to celebrate my birthday, as I say, just to giving back to something.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
No, this is so great. Okay. We, due to some time conflicts and you're so busy, we're both busy. We'll have to pause here. But I promise we will have you back for a longer episode. We'll have at least 45 minutes, maybe
Part
an
two.
hour, and we'll have a part 2. And we'll pause here as this was a quick taste.
Yes.
And we'll pause over here. Okay, excellent. And